Hello and welcome to an Everyday Canines video. In this episode in the Running Contact series, I want to talk to you about a manoeuvre which is mainly for distance handling, I suppose, but you could happen to be on a course. Now, it could do this three ways. What I want to show you is when you want to send your dog to the back of a jump and then ask them to turn and carry on straight. Now, in previous videos, we've done the backside where they come along and they're turning. If you imagine, we were asking effectively what we're doing is we're turning them. We were turning them this way, or if we were doing it that way, or if we were doing a really tight one, we'd be asking them to turn back on themselves. This is a situation where you've got this wing here and you ask them to turn and then you want them to drive on, maybe to a tunnel, weaves, who knows. We could do this in a number of ways depending on where we were. But I want to particularly look at what I call, we call it a flick away. There's lots of names for it. Sometimes people call it whiskey toes. There's lots of names for it. But basically it means the dog will come to the backside and independently flick away from you, but they'll flick so they go straight, so there could be something out there they're going to. So this scenario, I'd be looking to do this manoeuvre if the next obstacle was in line with this spacing after this wing. So it would be a jump, tunnel, whatever. Why am I saying that? Because if the obstacle was straight on, you would probably do this either as a wrap tight or a freddle tight and carry on. This manoeuvre is where doing something like that makes a very difficult line for the dog, and whereas asking them to turn over the wing like this, over the jump like this, would actually make a much nicer line for them. I said you could do this three ways. I'm going to concentrate on doing the send away, but this is another way you could do it. So I could do it as an S line, what we call an S line, which is where I send to the back, I pick the dog up on this arm and I bring them round the wing on this arm, so they're going between me and the wing. Now, I do that if the obstacle after that one there was over there, so I was heading that way most likely. It's called an S line, but the actual words are exactly the same for all these three moves. So I'd ask my dog to go viva, no, that's a lie. Yeah, I'd ask my dog to go round, which means I've actually got three backside cues now. I've got viva, which just means go and jump long, and now use round when I've got like a slightly complicated manoeuvre coming up. So round means go to the back of that jump, but something else is going to happen. And then I'm going to ask her to turn tightly over this wing away from me. So I need to work out which way she'll be going. So sometimes I actually have to stand like this and I go, well, she's turning left. So she needs to hear loop loop. My arms for this with an S line are going to be quite low. This is if I was near them. So I'll do it from the dog walk just so you'd see what it was from the dog walk. Round, round, loop, loop. Good girl. So if I was right on top of this wing and I was a handler able to run and get there, that's what I would do if I was asking the dog to turn that way. What if I wanted the dog to do that turn and then I was going to ask them to turn that way, turn left towards me, so I needed to come back on myself rather than carry on away? Then I would do it as a backside blind, which means I'm going to put a blind in there. So in this instance, I'm going to be the one nearest that wing and the dog's going to come round me. So I still need to be relatively here. Ready? Round, round, go. You can see I don't do that very much these days because I do distance handling. She actually caught on my foot. She came so tight she caught on my foot. I didn't say loop loop because I allowed my body to govern that one, but I could have said loop loop, but I knew my body was going to govern her there. So those are the two moves if you can get here. And to be honest with you, as long as you know you can do your backside and you've done these moves on the flat, they're not actually that difficult because all you've got to do is make sure you run there and do it just like you would on a jump. What interests me is when I can't get there and I've got to do this at a distance. What do I do then? So if I am not going to get there, I need to tell my dog to do that independently. Another reason for doing this independently, by the way, is actually it gives me the opportunity to cut a line. So say we've got the obstacle over there. I obviously, to do that running one, I had to get there, I had to come round the wing, I had to come that far wing to get there. That's fine, but now supposing I wanted to be over this way and I really needed to be over there to handle something, there could be something tricky over there, good girl, then I might have placed myself in a position where actually I can't get there. Whereas if I do this behaviour, manoeuvre, I can actually come through and cut this line, because this is going to be the dog doing it independently without me, and I can be here. So I could send them out, go to a tunnel and do this. So even if I wasn't distance handling, that might be the better option for me, because it means I can get to somewhere else without having to go out and then in, because whatever we're handling, we need to take the shortest line. We are not as fast as our dogs. If we are, we're faster, or that dogs, we have an issue. Because our dogs should always be faster than us and able to get ahead of us in competition. All right, okay, if you've got a really, really tiny Chihuahua, but even then I can see some really fast Chihuahuas, or yeah, an older dog, then you may be able to get ahead. But honestly, you want to be seeing that dog driving on away from you, and you want to be left behind. With the courses that they're getting, the speed of the courses are, you want to be left behind. So this might be the option we need, even if we can run, because this gives us the ability to get where we need to be next, and we've cut off a huge chunk of distance. So when I'm doing this, say the words are the same, but my positioning is different. I'm behind, and when I do this manoeuvre, I'm going to be pushing my arm out and sending. Now, we haven't done this in a while, so I'm going to stand a bit closer. Round, round, loop, loop, loop. Good girl. Timing is critical. Now, as I said to you, I've got that round cue now, because I'm always collecting cues. And that does mean they know that something complicated is going to happen. It's not quite just the Viva is just to fly over and slice. But even so, she looked. I actually needed to say loop, loop a bit faster, because she looked at me asking what I wanted. So let's do that again. Now, if you've never taught this behaviour, you do it on a flat. I'm doing it from the dog walk because I rabbited on a bit, and I know she does know this manoeuvre. Okay, round, round, loop, 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 much better. She knew where she was going that time. So, just like all other behaviours, we're starting it here to build the idea, and then we're going back and building in the movement motion. Both the handler's motion and the dog motion makes things more complicated. Ready? Round, round, loop, loop, loop. Good girl. Now, you see I wasn't moving that fast because I was concentrating on what she was doing, but can you see the line I was pushing? And now, if I had another obstacle there, say a tunnel, I'd be telling her tunnel, and I'd be getting myself over to where I needed to be next. Round, round, loop, loop, loop. Good girl. You can see she's still not 100% on that one, so it's something we've got to work on, but you get the idea. And you see that what I'm doing is I'm giving the dog the independence to do what I need them to do while I get somewhere else. It's a very nice move, that one. I like that one, it's one of my favourites, because it does mean I can cut corners. Let's just pause a minute and say to yourselves, what happens if my dog doesn't do that? I've just shown you the complete behaviour. What happens if I'm struggling with that? What happens if my dog doesn't do that at all? Now, most of these behaviours I expect you to have done on the flat and learned them previous to this episode, but because this is a slightly unusual one, I will just give you a quick idea of troubleshooting on this one. So if your dog has never done this and you're teaching it from scratch, you would start as if you're doing an S-line. I'm assuming you've got an S-line on here, obviously. This is, if you haven't got them, then we're going to have to go back and teach those. But yeah, you start with an S-line, but as the dog turns away from you, you might have to be here to begin with, you throw in the toy. Ready? Round, round, loop, loop. So once they've got the S-line, we can teach them that they run past us. And then as we're getting them to run past us like that, because this is the natural manoeuvre I'm doing with my hand to throw in the toy, this becomes the gesture, and I can set it back a bit. Okay, round, round, loop, loop, and we just keep building on it. We keep pushing back till we can be at the distance you saw, and they do it on their own. Thank you, good girl. So that's how we're going to do that one. And then you're going to add in your dog walk and all the malarkey we said about before. Lateral distance. distance back there. Now I've done this all on a right hand turn. Yeah, it's a left hand turn for the dog on that wing, but it's a right hand turn. Obviously you've got to teach it the other side as well. So don't just think you do it one side. I know that sounds, I'm sure you do know that, but I have to say it, do it both sides. It isn't just a one-sided thing. Make sure both are as confident as each other. And that is how we do the flick away. Very useful manoeuvre to hand in general, but also here. And it's just a really great thing to have, and it's lovely to see your dog turning independently and getting on with their job. I hope you've enjoyed this Everyday Canines video, and if you have, you might subscribe to the YouTube channel, and you can click on the bell icon and that'll give you notifications of new videos coming out. And you can also find us on Facebook and Instagram, and I hope to see you all again very, very soon.